folks. This is Anne Marie, your host. This is the Long Story Short, Tidbits from your Chief of Staff. And today, my special guest is Nikki, who is a career Chief of Staff. She has done it at several tech companies and has a vast array of experience that she's going to share with us. Nikki, welcome.
Hi, Anne Marie. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
This is awesome. Nikki, I want to give you just a couple of minutes just to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki. I, along with everyone else, became a remote chief of staff, but during the COVID era, which was challenging and interesting at the same time, but had the benefit of being a remote chief of staff just before COVID. So my career background is recently with a space company that is going through some unique challenges. And prior to that, with Microsoft, where I got the chance to work with Anne Marie, and Amazon, where I was the acting chief of staff before Amazon had the notion of chief of staff. So I kind of laid the groundwork for a lot for that role to be developed. Prior to that, I was program management and business development. So I had my fingers in the business arena and enjoyed it. So I'm so delighted that I was able to make this into a profession. I'm just like, this is my spot.
You're good at it. You're really good at it. So Nikki, when I have the guests on the show, I always ask them, tell me two things that you can think of that will help contribute to the success of a chief of staff as they're doing their roles. So, what are two things that rise to mind for you?
I so I have to say, like, given my background, it has kind of a very uh, windy path to chief of staff. So I didn't come in as a professional chief of staff. And I think one of the reasons it's been successful for me is because I've had a variety of experiences. So I can relate to other businesses and other points of view. Right. In the chief of staff world, you have a lot that comes at you from finance, from resource management, human resources, business teams that need things. So I think if you can give yourself an opportunity to have a broad experience, it will really benefit you.
Mhm.
And then the other side of things, and I think this is kind of, I hope I'm not repeating other chiefs of staff, but I think being a great listener and observer
Mhm.
is really critical. Still having very strong opinions and points of view,
Sure.
but without being able to listen to what your executive needs and what his or her related executives need, you will never find a great balance. You'll be fighting the business constantly. So I think being a good listener and understanding how to listen, acknowledge, and
Mhm.
direct in the way that you need, right? You have to recognize people are not going to be always happy with what you're asking them to do, and some are going to be delighted. And that's the balance. So
Right.
those are my two things.
So let me tell you, I've had folks who they brought up the fact that you need to be able to know how to communicate. And I think you took it in another vein, which is the whole aspect of listening.
Yeah,
And it's like critical listening, making sure that you are observing, understanding. We always talk about being able to read a room, observe the room,
that's it.
understand what's going on, taking that in. And that goes to your point about being able to listen, and then you truly can be that partner to your chief,
Yeah, yeah.
your, executive. Yeah.
You're going to you're going to, or you are managing personalities that are incredibly strong and incredibly successful, and also have, that focus of being successful, right, on a career track.
Sure.
And, as you said, you need to be able to communicate
Mhm.
and, uh, you know, it's a challenge. Like, can you do that and still and not ruin the respect that you are earning or the trust you are
Right.
earning while you guide these teams through their operations, right? It, for people who want to do this, it's such an interesting challenge and it is so hard. Like I
Mhm.
have gotten up from my desk and gone for a walk and people have said, "Can I join you?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. I need a breath. I need to think about this because I need to come back calm and be able
Right.
to manage my job and not let myself blow up." So like I've actually said, "No, I don't, please don't walk with me. I just need some breath of fresh air."
No, no, no. And I think like I love that you said that. I remember having a mentor very early on say, you're going to have moments where you're going to have an emotional reaction. So deal with the emotional reaction, but then come back to what you know, what you can control, what are the facts. And I think that's what your example is highlighting is you're in a situation, there's a lot of things that come at you. So you've got to figure out how are you reacting to it. And if you are introspective enough that you're like, I'm having an emotional reaction right now,
Yes,
you remove yourself and let that emotion run
that's
because
right.
you don't want it to get bottled up and headaches and all this other stuff happens. You let it take its course. And I always tell people that I mentor, you put it in a box when you're done, you put it on a shelf,
Yep.
and now you have dealt with it. So then you come back. And it is, you know what? It's so hard. Like I still find myself in situations where I talk to my mentors and I say, I think I'm being really emotional. And they look at me and go, yeah, let's, are you ready to get to the facts?
Yeah, yeah, that's it, right? That it allows you to get to the facts. Now, you don't always have the opportunity to take that break. So you have to, I think your design of put that in a box, like you got to put that emotion away, but you need to be able to pull it out so you can experience it and let it go rather than let it bottle up. But you do have to you do have to be able to transition in and around it very easily, right? And
Yeah.
maybe that's this is another one of those challenges. Like everybody wants to be connected to the person that you support, right? You are one of the great pathways to building a relationship with your executive. And so sometimes it is challenging to know that you can't share every emotion with everybody you know. The
Yeah.
people you love, the people who you support, you have to choose somebody, I think, outside of that reporting team
Mm-hmm.
uh, to vent to. Like, I love that you mentioned a mentor who you talked to. I'm going to assume that mentor is probably not within the team, right? Because you were
Correct.
already, a chief of staff of an executive. You're not going to
Yeah.
go mentor somebody, get mentored by somebody else within the organization. But I think a smart choice is having a mentor outside of your organization so you
Yeah.
can talk about things that could be emotional, could be incendiary, right? Like
Mhm.
just things so that you can release that,
Yeah.
um, and then be able to evaluate it with a logic or without the emotions involved. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Uh,
think you bring up great points. So that's it.
well, so let me tell you what my next question is, a little bit of a pivot is, with your experience as you've mentored people who are chief of staffs or aspiring chief of staffs, what is a gotcha that you've observed, or even a gotcha that you may have gone through, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I tell folks about this so they can navigate this with a little bit more ease than I did.
I'm ready with a response, and I'll say this because you gave me a little insight into what the questions would be, and otherwise I would struggle with this question. But
Hmm.
I think this is so big, and it isn't like tactical or quantifiable, but um, believing you know more than you do, or believing you know everything about the situation. I think that leads to forming strong opinions that could be right and could be wrong, and you have a massive influence. So you need to come at your organization in as balanced a way as possible. But I see people who come in sometimes very aggressively, even very senior people, very aggressively and have very strong opinions that they know the tenor of the team or understand the room, without being curious enough to connect with the team in different ways, right? You'll always have your go-to resources, the folks that you connect with and that can help you understand what the team mentality is or what the team culture is, but you have to continue to be curious and look outside to understand, how you are being perceived. If you come across aggressively, you lose trust, you
Mm-hmm.
lose authority, you start your role starts being minimized because your executive can't come to you because they now you might burn bridges, and they'll have
Sure.
to say, Nikki's great at executing on our operations, but I can't depend on her for this other piece, which is, understanding what this team needs because they've lost faith with, a partner or an executive. So I think you have to be curious and humble with those questions, right?
Yeah, yeah. I, you've got that in my head. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm going to walk away from this conversation, reminding myself is that I should always be curious and I should always be asking questions.
Yeah, it's
The
it,
more people want to tell you.
they want exactly, and they're so delighted if you reach out and ask, and from the most junior person in the organization to the most senior person, right? You can always dial in the amount of time you dedicate to this, but the most junior person is going to give you a great deal of insight into what the masses need, and maybe
Hmm.
certainly they're generally younger too, and so they have a lot to say and they want to make connections. And then the most senior people don't have a lot of time, but they also want to be able to. They have their own agenda and they
Yeah.
want somebody to be interested in it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that is, I think, might be my secret weapon, is trying to be curious. I
Hmm.
certainly also, go the other direction and come in and think I have a strong opinion and I just want to get this done and this is the way we're going to do it, without
Right.
understanding like I'll have gaps. So I learn from that experience and I, apply it the next time.
Awesome. Nikki, I appreciate that you made some time today to talk to my listeners and share your wealth of knowledge and experience because for me, like I always learn from you. I feel very lucky that I've had an opportunity to work for you in some capacity. And even with changing employers, I've still been able to learn from you. So thank you so much. Any parting words that you want to leave with my watchers?
Thanks, Anne-Marie. And I have to say the very same to you. I'm so glad that we connected. And I will say something that I admire so much about you, and it is your ability to network. You bring people together in such a way that I aspire to have your courage to meet people. You just connect, and I think that might be my parting words, which is, um, try and put. I don't even think you do this, but this is the way I'd have to approach it. Try and put my ego to the side and meet people, because everyone has so much to contribute. And that's what I found in you. Like I could talk with you about a challenge and you would say, I know somebody five
Mhm.
organizations away that has experience with this. And I'm like, how do you know that? You're like, oh, I met with them over coffee once and then I wanted to continue a relationship with them. So I made the effort. And I think that's really critical, that you make the effort to stay connected with people. And I admire it immensely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And looking forward to having more chats with you. So this has been fantastic. People, again, I hope you enjoyed this. The long story short, I'm your host, Anne Marie. We listened to the fabulous Nikki, and I'm going to try to get her again so we can glean some more nuggets of wisdom for her. And I will see you at my next series. So take care, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.